how to find work and research opportunities at UBC. So we're going to do a bit of an overview of the various work and research opportunities available to international students at UBC. And I'm going to give you a bit of just a breakdown of kind of what the research landscape looks like. I will say right off the top, this is by no means an exhaustive list. These are some of the larger programs, but there's other opportunities that exist as well. But just wanting to give you a good sort of general overview and lay of the land of things that are available at UBC. So I'm gonna just quickly do a bit of an intro of why consider research. I mean, I know if you're here, you're probably considering research yourself, but I do want to look a little bit at some of the benefits that folks have mentioned from pursuing research. And then I'm going to talk about the different research programs that are available. So I'll look at kind of a table of comparison of the programs. This is also available on our websites. So if you want to take a closer look at it, that's something that you can do after this presentation. I'm going to talk about the WorkLearn International Undergraduate Research Awards, the NSERC Undergraduate Research Awards, WorkLearn, and the Multidisciplinary Undergraduate Research Conference. And then finally, talking about how to contact faculty and staff about research opportunities, which will include if one of these programs is maybe not quite the right fit, also about how to contact folks outside of the programs in order to still gain a research opportunity. Okay, so why consider research? In my role, one of the things that I'm really lucky that I get to do is do site visits. So every term I get to, right now through Zoom, connect with faculty, supervisors, and students and talk to them about their work projects. And a good portion of these are research. So some of the things that students who are pursuing these research opportunities get to contribute to is literature reviews that go directly into larger studies, lots of different kinds of ways of analyzing data, conducting interviews with participants, working on collaborative studies with other institutions and universities. Some have published papers. I talked to a student yesterday who just co-authored a paper with her supervisor. And as well as conference presentations, a huge number of students who are taking the research that they're working on and presenting internationally. And there's lots of other ways to, and things that students contribute to in the research field. Some of the skills that are gained are in both lab and non-lab research settings. So often we're thinking about the lab setting for research, but there's a huge, huge range of research opportunities that are outside of lab settings as well. Gaining skills in different disciplines. So there's again, just a really broad range of disciplines that are represented, as well as multidisciplinary projects. So projects that are between faculties and between schools. Students also report major gains in their professional communication, in their time management and project management, as well as their critical thinking and analysis skills. And of course, all the skills associated with doing research, but I did want to talk about some of the things outside of just research skills that students also gain. So a couple of anecdotes that I've pulled out here is just from talking to students who have gone through some of these programs and some of the things that they were able to take away. So one of the stories I pulled out here is some of the most relevant takeaways from my undergraduate research award were things that I learned about myself rather than the specific information and tasks I've been trained on. One of the most valuable things I learned was the type of work environment that I thrive in. Working in a lab that prioritizes work-life balance has been a really healthy experience for me because that is something I've struggled with a lot in my university career. And I really liked this because research isn't something that you'd automatically think like, oh, that's where I'd go find work-life balance, but it is something that students have reported that they are able to find in these roles. And then the other one I've pulled out here is just around, I think sometimes we have some imposter syndrome around joining world-renowned researcher and joining a research project. But the student here put, I never felt that my questions or concerns were foolish or signs of academic immaturity. In fact, I developed a genuine camaraderie with all the members of the lab and felt at ease communicating and learning from them. I also refined my oral presentation skills through periodic lab meetings, which culminated in a final presentation in my final week. So just a couple of ways in which folks are gaining experience in research. I'm going to have a quick check of the chat here just to address any questions that I can before we move on. So for newly graduated students, yes, I think towards the end of kind of this short presentation part, I will have, I'll talk a little bit about reaching out to faculty members and to other research opportunities that you might be interested in. But the first part is going to be focusing mostly on current students, yeah, but I will definitely bring up some opportunities for that as well. And then in terms of questions about the specific programs, I am going to show you a breakdown of what those look like in just a moment. So a little bit of side-by-side program comparison. Obviously, I don't expect folks to remember this table, but I just wanted to give a really brief overview of some of the big programs. I think I saw the question, is WorkLearn just research? No, WorkLearn is not just research. WorkLearn is a huge program with usually 750 plus different types of positions, but many of them are research-based. So hence why that's part of the presentation today. If you're looking for non-research related opportunities, WorkLearn is a great place to go. And I'll talk about that when we get to the WorkLearn program. But this is just to show a little bit how things are divided up here. When I get to talking about NSERC, which is where I start, it is only open to domestic students, but I know some folks are interested in pursuing permanent residency or citizenship. Statuses change, so I am including that in this presentation. But each program website will give you a full breakdown of all the eligibility. So I say it at the end kind of cheekily on my questions slide, but for any eligibility questions, I will provide all the links to the program pages, and those have the contact information for if you're not quite sure from there, if you meet the eligibility requirements, you can always reach out to the program coordinator. But you'll see that there's a broad range of programs, and they're offered at different times to slightly different audiences in order to be able to hopefully capture and provide opportunities to everyone. And again, this chart is on our websites. And once I'm done this official presentation part, I'm going to put a bunch of links in the chat to each one of these program web pages. So those will be on their way shortly. NSERC, the NSERC Undergraduate Research Awards and the WorkLearn International Undergraduate Research Awards, we love our big long names and acronyms at UBC, are slightly similar programs. And so I just like to do a quick overview of the program goals just to differentiate the two. So the NSERC Undergraduate Student Research Awards, one of the program goals is to stimulate interest in research in the natural sciences and engineering, to encourage students to undertake graduate studies and pursue a research career in different fields, to provide research work experience that complements undergraduate studies in an academic setting, and to provide students with financial support while gaining research experience that complements their studies. The vast majority of the opportunities that I'll be talking about today are all paid opportunities, but I will talk a little bit about volunteer opportunities as well. And again, NSERC is currently only open to domestic students. WorkLearn International Undergraduate Research Awards, the big goals are to provide international students with workplace experience through undergraduate research opportunities, particularly for students interested in research as a career, and to provide students with financial support while gaining research experience. So as you can see, there's some similarities between the programs, and when we throw WorkLearn into the mix as well, you'll see a big thing here is recognizing the importance of providing opportunities while also providing financial support. So these are paid opportunities. So, a quick little overview of NSERC, the Natural Sciences and Engineering Research Council of Canada. Again, a big mouthful. I'm just going to go somewhat quickly through this one because it may be less applicable here, but again, just sort of part of the overall research landscape at UBC. So through these awards, the NSERC Council subsidizes eligible professors to hire students to work on interesting research-related jobs and projects. So for all of these programs, usually what's happening is a faculty or staff member is applying for funding, and then once they're receiving that, they're hiring students into their research opportunities. The minimum duration for this award is 16 consecutive weeks of full-time work. So generally these are being done in the summer, or these are only being done in the summer. The NSERC USRA program is administered, my goodness, it's 9 a.m. here, so I'm still, my mouth is waking up with my brain, is administered and coordinated through the faculty and school USRA coordinators, and you can find the contacts for those coordinators on the NSERC website. Each faculty establishes its own procedures for identifying and ranking applicants, and as well as setting deadlines for those. So it's important that if you are interested in this program, that you're visiting the NSERC page and making sure you're getting connected with the faculty coordinator. For all information on the different contacts within the faculties and schools, eligibility, and how to apply, please visit the webpage. I'll give you that link in a moment here. And then I've included a few things here just around program impact, and just to get a sense of some of the things that students are reporting. So this information is pulled from our surveys as well as our site visits. And you can see that there's a really high percentage of students that strongly agree that they felt like their experience helped them develop skills that they can apply to academic learning and a professional work environment, as well as helping them feel more prepared for their career. Okay, so the WorkLearn International Undergraduate Research Awards. Again, another mouthful. We affectionately know it as WIRLA, not necessarily easier to say, but these are designed for international undergraduate students who are interested in research. And again, this program also subsidizes professors to hire students to work on their research projects. It's again another summer program, so it's 16 consecutive weeks of full-time work, which works out to be 35 hours a week plus 1 hour unpaid lunch break. Very important detail to include in there. And these are held in the summer term, so they will typically start May 1st and go until August 31st. And I've included a detail there that you don't necessarily need to know, but the latest a student can start working is May 12th. Include that just to let you know that these positions are currently open on Careers Online. And if you are interested, I really encourage you to apply to positions as soon as possible. And I'll talk a little bit more about that again towards the end of this, about how to apply and where to find all of these opportunities. In order to apply to this program, you can apply on Careers Online. You can also submit a research proposal with a faculty member. So right now, because the postings are already up, it's too late for this coming summer to do that. But if in a following summer you wanted to submit, definitely check out the webpage in January, and there's full details about how to submit a proposal with a faculty member. So every term we get a pretty good number of students who are actually basically creating their own roles with the help of a faculty supervisor. And I've just included some stats around some of the things that students are reporting gains in. Okay, so now for one of the largest programs that we offer, WorkLearn. So the WorkLearn program also supports and subsidizes meaningful work experience on campus, and that offers current UBC students the opportunity to develop your professional skills and learn in a work environment. Again, not all WorkLearn positions are research-based. Many are not, and some are what I call research adjacent. So they may not be directly involved in the heavy lifting of research, But as research projects are often interdisciplinary and involving different faculties and schools, you will see work-learn positions that are supporting research and supporting research projects. So there's lots of opportunities depending on your interest and how much you want to get into research. And as well, if you're here and you have no interest in research, work-learn also offers opportunities for you. Again, I said there's 700 plus positions, sometimes even more than that. So these are all a huge range of different kinds of opportunities and people that you can work with. A couple of examples of jobs that I've listed. There's an Aboriginal Admissions Research Assistant, a project assistant to the Division of Inner City Medicine, the Oral Microbiology Project Assistant, folks working across applied sciences, in the humanities, in the arts. So again, a massive range that covers just about every faculty and school at UBC. As I said, not all work-learn positions are research-based. So when you log into Careers Online and you're looking for these opportunities, when you select search, then select more filters and check research-based. And I'll show you in a moment how to search Careers Online as well. So we can actually look at the page together and look how to search for these positions. All summer positions are currently posted on Careers Online, and they will be open from March 8th to March 28th. I highly encourage you, if you're interested in WorkLearn, in WIRLA or NSERC, to get your application in as soon as possible. Often folks are waiting until the last minute, but it's important to remember there's hundreds of people that apply to these positions. They are quite competitive. And so the longer you wait to get your application in, sometimes the less likely it is that you might get called in for an interview. Just by the sheer size of these programs, people are often doing rolling interviews. So the flip side of that is if you get your application in early, it means you're more likely to get an earlier interview and to start to be able to nail down some of your summer plans. I'm going to take a breath because that's a lot of me talking about the finer points of these programs. And I just wanted to take a second to chime in, look at the chat, but also open it up too if anybody has any questions about those programs that they want to ask. I see a question around job search strategies, opportunities, search engines, job boards available for recent or soon to be graduates, either working at the university or outside the university. Yeah, absolutely. Careers Online does have postings for opportunities outside of just student roles. So that's a great place to start. I also think it's a great place to start because you can start to filter for some of those research-based positions and actually search them, and also get a sense of what types of institutions, organizations, et cetera, are currently hiring, because you're seeing the postings that they're putting up. So even if you see a role, let's say at the BC Cancer Institute or BC Cancer Agency, sorry, and it's not quite the right role for you, but you are interested in working there, then it's a way that you can find some more specific information, maybe contact information for them as well. For WIRLA, the last day for deadlines for applying, the deadlines in February would be applying for the funding. So applying for, there's sort of these two different stages to it. One is a student and or a supervisor applying for funding to create the position, and then the positions actually being opened. So the positions are open currently, the positions that already exist. But if you're wanting to create your own WIRLA position, then that's where those timelines in February come along. And those deadlines are set. Thinking ahead, when are winter term positions typically posted? Great question. For WorkLearn and for many others, they will be posted in August. So definitely be checking Careers Online at the beginning of August to see when those postings go up. Because yeah, some folks do wait until September. There's always stuff available, but the bulk of the jobs are going up before September because they're usually starting in September. question about somebody who applied for WIRLA funding before the deadline and wondering when approvals are sent out. So funding announcements have already gone out this week, I believe. If you haven't heard back, you can definitely contact the program, and I'll include those contacts in a moment. And I've got a great question here. Research positions under WorkLearn, are they more likely to go to upper year undergraduates? Do you think second year students have a good chance? This is a great question, and I'm so glad somebody asked it. The great thing about WorkLearn is that there's a huge range of jobs, which means there's a huge range of opportunities for different levels of experience. So in my previous role, I worked in the Chapman Learning Commons, and I hired, every term I worked with a team of 17 students, and I'd always be looking for different levels of experience. So I definitely encourage you, if you're in your second year, definitely look at these positions and consider applying. We do have students that apply and are successful in their first year. Oftentimes, jobs are wanting somebody to have at least one academic year kind of under their belt, but that's not a hard and fast rule. So if you're interested in something, I really encourage you to apply for it. And as well with WorkLearn, there are opportunities for undergraduate, graduate, and postdoc students. So wherever you fall within those categories, there should be some things available for you. All right. I'm gonna continue on with the presentation. I know there'll be lots more questions as we go, but I'm just gonna have a quick check of the time. We're right on time, so I'm gonna move ahead here. But great questions so far. Okay, so one of the last things that I kind of wanted to present to you is an exciting opportunity that's coming up and is also free to register for. And this is the Multidisciplinary Undergraduate Research Conference, also just known as MERC. And this is a conference for UBC undergraduate research students to showcase their research in front of their fellow UBC students, family, and friends. Researchers choose from one of two formats to showcase their research, either a presentation or a poster. And as you can see, MERC is happening, not this coming weekend, but the following weekend. Any UBC undergraduate student who is participating in or has completed their own UBC faculty supervised research project can apply to present at MERC. Obviously, because MERC is happening in 2 weeks, the deadline to submit to present has closed, but definitely something to be aware of for next year. However, anybody, undergraduate, graduate, alumni, anybody can attend this conference, and registration is now open until March 18th. And I will include the registration link again in a moment so that if you are interested, that's something that you can attend. It's an amazing conference. It's something that I've been very fortunate to be attached to at UBC for quite some time, and has really grown. And there's a huge number of students who are presenting their own original research at the conference. And it's really great to see people engaging with research so often early into their undergraduate experience. So if you've never experienced research and you have no context, but you are interested, this is a great conference to be able to see some of the projects that are possible under undergraduate research. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit now about how to reach out to folks that you might want to do research with, and also talk a little bit about volunteer positions and where to find research opportunities outside of just these programs. So obviously at UBC, we're trying to create programs that help support students and the things that they want to pursue and study. But sometimes you look in the postings and you don't quite see the thing that you're most interested in, or you don't see yourself represented in those opportunities. So as I said, with both WorkLearn and WIRLA, it is possible to create your own position. So you can reach out to a faculty member and ask them if that's something that they would maybe be interested in doing. I've spoken to a number of students who have done this, and as scary as it might sound, oftentimes it's something as simple as they just emailed their biology professor who they just thought were a really great professor, and they wanted to know more about their research. And just starting that conversation and reaching out to somebody they kind of already knew. You don't have to already have a relationship with the professor to reach out to them. I think it's a great idea to um, look at your existing network of people that you do know. But I certainly encourage you as well, if there's researchers that you see are doing something really amazing or something that you're really excited by, is to reach out to them and let them know that and see if there are any research opportunities to work with them. I know there's also a number of professors and researchers who do take in volunteers to work on their research projects. So it never hurts to just ask. And if I can honestly give you one piece of advice, it is just that. It's just ask. We don't know what we don't know. And oftentimes if we don't see a posting, then we think that there's nothing available when there might actually be. So I love the approach of reaching out directly to a faculty member and seeing what they're working on. If you are wanting to create your own position, and you've already decided that's a road you'd like to go down, you can contact an eligible professor that you'd like to work with and tell them about, when I say this program, I just mean any of these programs. So whichever one might be a good fit. I do think it's a good idea to have a look at the program websites. And if there's a program, let's say Whirla, that you think might be more applicable to you, have a read through of what the eligibility requirements are first before reaching out to a professor. Not all supervisors, whether they're a faculty or staff member, will necessarily know about these programs. So it can help if you kind of do some of that pre-homework for them, just so that you can inform them about the opportunity. Many professors are going to be really happy to talk to you about the opportunity to hire you at a subsidized wage. So that's the value add to them, is that although you'd be creating a position for a paid position, they're getting subsidized by these programs. So many people find that attractive. And again, not everybody always knows about the opportunity. A couple of tips in terms of reaching out to folks. This is kind of one of those things of like, do your research on your research, know what you're going to say. So if you're sending an email, just have a bit of a plan of how you'd like to approach it. Be prepared to talk about your interests, your knowledge areas, and your lab or volunteer experience. Again, knowing that this professor may not know you. You might have taken a class with them, but that might have been with 200 other people, just sort of reintroducing yourself so that you can refresh their memory or give them some context to who you are and why you're reaching out to them. This initial reach out should be something that's fairly short and concise. This is not the place to list every single academic achievement you've ever had, but just simply to say, hey, here's who I am. I'm in my second year studying microbiology. I'm really interested in the work that you're doing in DNA replication. I worked on a similar project in high school. And then, an opportunity maybe to meet or have a Zoom chat and be able to pick up the conversation from there. Really, really would encourage you as well to familiarize yourself with the professor's research subject, so that you can ask informed questions about it. So just doing a little bit of homework. You don't have to go read every single academic paper that they've published, but definitely you should know what their research area is and some of the projects they're currently working on, so that you can ask some, again, just informed questions and not reaching out with just, what research are you working on currently? That's something that often we can find for ourselves, and also helps give us an entry point into the conversation. Doing this will show that you're genuinely interested in helping with the research. So not just saying, I'm really interested in this type of research that you're doing, but here's how it connects to my own interests and what I would like to do. Attach a copy of your resume, just so that the professor can have a quick reference of some of the things that you've worked on in the past. And then make sure you thank them for their time after you meet with them, after you email them. Even if you decide, okay, we're not going to work together, just making sure to do that follow-up and thank them for their time. It's amazing how quickly your network can grow once you're reaching out to faculty members and folks doing research at UBC. And I would say probably most people are talking to at least a few people before they find the right fit. And you never know when that connection might come in handy. You may decide, okay, we're not going to work on this research together right now, But having that contact and keeping a good relationship with them can come in handy. Maybe you might be deciding on grad school at some point and might want to revisit their research area. And the last thing I've included here is a small but important point, and I think it's just something to keep in mind when we are, especially email communicating with researchers, is really focusing on being interested rather than interesting. So as I said, an initial email reach out is not the place to list off every academic achievement or award you've ever won, as important as those things are, but really to focus on why are you interested in working with them? What is it about their research that speaks to you and is making you feel excited? What's something that you've worked on in the past that you think would really help you in this current position? I think more than anything, researchers are people and they're excited about their own research and they're excited to talk to other people about their own research. And so connecting your interests with their research, I think, is really key in reaching out to folks, whether that's wanting to write a proposal together to fund a new work-learn position, or if that's just to email them and see if they have any volunteer opportunities available in their lab or in their non-lab setting. So yeah, in summary, I think it's a little bit about doing your research and having some good questions in mind, but also just kind of going for it. Make a list of a few professors that you think are doing really exciting things or researchers that you think are doing really exciting work. And, make it your goal to reach out to each one of them, before the term ends, like setting yourself a specific deadline of when you'd like to reach out. I also invite you, if you're somebody that's thinking like, okay, I've sent out a lot of emails and applications this term, and I'd love to I kind of just actually want to have a conversation and learn a little bit more. There's also something called an informational interview, and this is something I encourage students, anybody at any stage of life to pursue, but it's simply just to reach out to someone and say, I'd love to learn a little bit more about the research you're doing. I'm considering doing some research myself, and I was wondering if you'd have maybe 15 or 20 minutes to chat and answer some questions. Although people are very busy, again, people really do like talking about their research and talking to other people who are interested in their research. So I'd say just kind of go for it. Be informed about who you're reaching out to and make sure you know what it is they're working on. But everything has to start somewhere. And often research and research conversations are just starting with an email, an inquiry from a fellow researcher who's interested in the same topic, and it grows from there. All righty. I'm gonna leave you with this anecdote here before we transition into questions, and then I'll send you all the links in the chat as well. This is from a student I talked to last year, and they said, I came across the NSERC USRA after receiving a link with a list of research opportunities on campus through the distillation newsletter in my second year, and I took a leap of faith to contact my Biology 200 professor for a position in her lab. So just finding out about it through a faculty newsletter. Her research encompassed two major topics that I had some exposure to while taking biology courses during the school year: viruses and their nuclear entry into host cells. After several email exchanges and an interview, Dr. Pantay and I began navigating the application process together. And what I love about this sort of snippet of a story is that this is all something that happened relatively organically. It was just happening to see that this was an opportunity available. And then they just decided to reach out to their past biology professor. And then they started working on the process of applying for a position together. So really wanting to stress as well that, researchers are looking for collaborators and want to work with people. And so it's always great if we can help them navigate some of the program eligibility and things like that, but also just knowing that it is an opportunity, and there's always research opportunities by just reaching out to folks and seeing what's available.